Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of So Chatty. And Walter was watching to make sure I hit the record button this time, because last week we ran into a little problem, as you know. But yeah, I hit it. It's there. So, of course, if I hadn't hit it, you wouldn't be seeing this. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, what's today? Well, today is March the 21st, first day of spring. Well, I think yesterday was supposed to be the first day of spring, so they said, but I always thought it was the 21st of March. And I am sure there'll be lots of you out there that will correct me on that, and I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, first day of spring is March 21st, because that's the way it was when I was a kid, in the younger days. Yeah.
Isn't that like the Mandela effect or something?
Oh, don't get into that. I don't know. That Mandela effect, I don't think that's a thing. Really. Well, it is a thing, but I don't think it's a real thing. But we're not talking about
the Alzheimer's effect.
Okay, and who are you? I don't know. Who am I? Okay, so we're going to have a bag show. Yes, mine's out of the gutter.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, but see, so you're probably all wondering, because we did say last week you were going to see it. You were going to see Walter's quilted patchwork bag. What's happening with that?
Well, I just finished the last panel today, but I haven't sewn it together yet. So that's my problem.
And they're still sewing the panel
now,
together.
if I wasn't out all day with you yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Here comes the excuse.
If you had driven there yourself, I could have been busy making the bag.
That's your job. You are my chauffeur. You are my cook. I could only get you to clean house. That would work out well, too. You only clean bathrooms. But, yeah. Anyways, let's not talk about our domestic arrangements. Let's talk about the bag show. But before we talk about the bag show, do we have anything to show you? No, because it'll be in the bag show, minus Walter's bag. But there are Walter bags in the bag show. So he did have some pictures of previous bags that he has made and gave away, actually. But luckily he had a photo record of those. So we will be seeing all of that in a moment. But before we get there, let's talk about announcements. So, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, you know that last week we didn't have one because we were busy doing other things, went to a guild, I was the guild presentation. But we're back on track again for this week. So, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, this coming Wednesday, start time 9 o'clock. Everybody is welcome. Come and go as you please with it. Bring whatever you want to work on. Have a good time. Yeah, and links in the show notes. Speaking of links, you won't find a link for this yet, but next week on my videos you will. Pop-up sew days. Okay, yes, I'm very well organized with the pop-up sew days. They're not so pop-up anymore. They're kind of planned and scheduled. Yeah. Originally the plan was you never knew when they were going to happen, but now you do.
Yeah, well, you're never a last-minute kind of guy.
No, I'm not. This is very, very true. It's probably going to be, when I say probably, just in case something better comes up. No, not really. Nothing will. But Saturday, March the 29th. So that's 1 week from this Saturday. And a second one, 2 weeks later, on Saturday, April the 12th. Why am I planning those all out, spacing them this way? Because the Idiot Quilter Retreat is on Saturday, April the 26th. Don't worry, you haven't missed registration or anything like that yet, because I haven't told you anything more about it than just the date. First week in April, there will be a video posted, and I will go over everything you need to know about getting yourself registered. It is a free event. It's always a free event. And all the ins and outs and the agenda and the whole bit, I will putting that all together on a video, and that will go up in the first week of April on my channel. So don't worry, you haven't missed anything yet. But so that's why I spaced out the pop-up sew days. One, Walter has his sewing day, that he is him in-person sewing day on April the 12th. So that's why one of those dates is designated for pop-up sew day, because I'm bored and I'm lonely because he's not here. He's also my chief source of amusement. Sort of. Yeah, really. That's what I did too. Nice face. Hope it doesn't stick like that. Oh, too late. And so I thought, well, it's too long between pop-up sew days since the last one we had to April the 12th. So I'm breaking it up by putting one in. Are you a bobblehead? What?
Yeah, I don't know. Yap, 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 yap.
Pick one. That's the one. Okay. Oh, isn't he funny? He's so amusing. Yes. Anyways, see, if you hadn't interrupted me, we wouldn't be going on for days about this. So, I'm having one on March the 29th, and I'm going to have one on April the 12th. The links will be in the show notes next week for the March 29th one. All are welcome. Come and go as you please. Have a good time. Okay, enough about that before I get told I'm talking too much. Yeah, that's all the announcements. Okay. Other news. Guild presentation. I did a guild presentation. And I have to say, I was suffering in the morning from a bit of an anxiety attack. And yeah, I was really kind of worried about it. Not because I was worried about standing up in front of people and speaking. That's not a biggie for me. I did it for my whole life, kind of a thing when I was a teacher. What was really giving me anxiety is I didn't know what the technology was going to be like. And I had a very simple PowerPoint, but I wasn't taking any quilts with me and doing a quilt show because quilts are heavy. And you lug all that stuff to where we were doing the guild presentation. It was with the Trent Valley Guild, Quilters Guild, and they are located in Brighton, Ontario. And Brighton is about a little less than an hour and a half away from us, so not a big trip to the east. But still, I didn't really want to lug all the quilts out, and I'd have to find them. And I was trying to put my presentation together, showing my mistakes, my older quilts and things when I first got into quilting. And some of those quilts I don't have anymore, or other quilts I wanted to show I've given away, or
one's hanging on our wall.
or one's hanging on the wall. And I didn't really want to take, I thought about it, but I didn't really want to take it down off the wall because it's a big one. So I did all of these slides with showing them, and I had organized the whole presentation around why I call myself the Idiot Quilter. And so I took all this technology with me. I was told they had a pull down screen that never failed, and that they had a projector mounted in the ceiling. So I'm thinking, okay, do you have cables? Are the cables there? Is there a remote for it? What happens if my computer, I plug it in, it doesn't work? They said they had their own guild computer they could bring, but I don't know. Is it a Mac? Is it a Windows machine? So I prepped my presentation for a Mac computer and for a Windows computer, and I have a projector as well. Haven't used it in a long time. Got it out, experimented with it. It worked fine. I brought an extra long HDMI cable so I could connect it all in. I had my notes on my phone tied in with the slide presentation, which is a little app I found, which is really cool, because if you write notes when you create your slides, they'll come up on your phone. You pair it with the computer, and you can also control the slides from your phone. Just like a remote control. So I was really happy when I found that app and everything. But just in case that didn't work, I had written notes. Actually, I had notes on my phone in another app, and I also had a hard copy. So I had all of this, plus the gifts I was giving out to everybody as well. So we filled up the back of the car. We got there an hour before the presentation. That was the arrangements I had made with the person who organizes all of this. And, because I wanted to get set up, I wanted to try the equipment, I wanted to make sure everything was working fine. It took 5 minutes to set it up. Worked like a charm. Right, ideally, exactly the way I wanted it to. There was no problem. I have to say kudos to the people who planned that system in this hall, because they knew what they were doing. For sure. There was an HDMI cable sitting right there on the little podium on the stage for this. I took an extra extension. I'm glad I took the extension cord, because the plug wasn't as close, but that was okay. I had it all there. And yeah, I said 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Then we didn't know what we were going to do with ourselves while we were waiting around. And I didn't like standing in a corner kind of a thing, staring at the people coming in and that. So we went across the street and went to a Subway and had a sandwich, and some high school kids were there. They thought our shirts were really cool, and of course I think everything was feeling really cool for them because they're
outside
having a toke. So it's legal in Canada.
Yeah.
Not usually
Not
what
necessarily for teenagers.
to be doing it on their lunch break, but whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, but they seemed to be a nice little group of kids,
Yeah,
kind of
actually,
thing.
they were polite.
They were mellow.
They held the door open for us.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so if that'd been our area, oh, that wouldn't have happened. But well, that's not true. It probably would. Kids aren't all bad. There's usually a couple of good ones in there. I know I taught those two. So, anyways, I've got a picture here. Walter took.
Maybe your teacher exuded you.
It might have been. Maybe I had that teacher look on my face. I don't know. Apparently, everybody at the guild, even before I said I was a teacher, they were having bets whether I taught that I was a teacher and whether or not I taught elementary school.
Mm.
No, because I guess they hadn't heard yet the part about where I made elementary school kids cry when I was a docent at the art gallery. That's a story for another day. But here I am in my presentation glory on the podium. They did have a microphone. I don't like microphones, but I said to her, do I need to use this? And she said, yeah, they had a few that were hard of hearing. I said, oh, yes, I suppose you do. So, yeah. But
yeah, I was able to hear you fine right at the back. So,
and speaking of hard of hearing, yeah. So there you are. So, anyways, my presentation ran a little long. Well, not that bad. I asked them if 45 minutes was okay, and they said sure, no problem. And we didn't get started until it was about 1:15 after they did their initial announcements and things, and I was done by 10 after 2. So what's that? That's about 55 minutes.
Yeah,
50 minutes.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too bad. That was pretty good. And yeah, and they seemed to like it. They came up and spoke to me, many of them afterwards, and said how funny I was. And I said, funny as in ha-ha, funny as in weird. Probably a little bit of both. But anyways, yep, I felt good about the presentation afterwards. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was good. And I noticed everybody seemed to be
engaged.
And
well, because
nobody seemed to be falling asleep.
Because I threatened them. I went, eyes here, ears open, mouth shut. Or you don't
get
a prize.
I think, I mean, I've listened to a lot of presentations in my life. And actually, it's probably one of the first times I've seen you speak other than at a funeral. And
that's one of my favorite things.
I wish all my presentations that I saw were as good as yours.
Yeah, well, I used to teach kids how to give presentations. We used to call it Death by PowerPoint on there. And you notice there was very little on my slides.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my slides were the pictures that I used, but they're more or less a place for people to focus their attention so they're not staring at me all the time or the presenter up at the front. But anyways, I felt good about it afterwards, and they were a nice group. Nobody asked me or threw things at me, so I thought that was a plus. There were a lot. I'd asked how many approximately they expected. I thought, 30 at the most. No, they told me, 70 to 80, and I went, right. It's a guild. There won't be 70 to 80, and there wasn't. There were 88 plus 2 guests.
And we were the guests.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if we were the guests.
Yeah, we were the guests.
Would they count us? So 88 people were in this hall. So, yeah, that was... Now, I'd like to think they all heard about me giving this presentation, so they had a record number arrive for this meeting. I don't think that's what it was. But
actually, I think there was one guy that snuck in with his wife, so so there would have been 91.
Yeah. Now, a few of them I think were subscribers because they came up and said they watched us all the time. One lady said, "Yeah, you look different than on the video," and I went, "Better or worse?" She didn't answer that, so I'm not sure.
Well, I guess everybody does look a little different because you don't really know how tall we are.
Well, that's true.
And
we're not. I'm not. That's for sure. But yeah, but very, very active guild, because we were reading some of the things they had posted in this little community center about their upcoming events and listened to what they had to say about upcoming events. They had a lot of stuff every month for people. So I thought this is a really active guild.
And they also seem to have an organized group where they donated quilts.
Yeah. Well, most guilds do. The one that I belong to had one too. But this one is very active, and they had a little parade of the quilts that were going out for donation at one point, and there were quite a few of them. The guild I belong to, no.
I think it maybe the difference is between like in that guild is that it's a smaller community, and
Yeah,
sometimes
maybe
smaller communities are a little bit more
tight knit.
involved and tight
Yeah,
knit.
something for them to do because the guild I was a member of, no, no. But anyways, so yep, and I also unloaded or donated a Quilt of Valor. I've shown that to you several weeks ago. But there was one of the representatives. Well, there were several representatives there of Quilts of Valor. So I donated my quilt that I had finished up. That was from their sew day that they had back in November that they invited Walter and I to, if you remember. And so
So there's a little piece of me in there too.
yes,
I
and
made some.
I
Sorry.
acknowledged Walter,
Yes, he did.
and they all want to know about the shirts, of course. And I says,
Yeah, actually, I had one person ask me if I made shirts for other people, and I said no. Because I said, seriously, I said to her, I said, it takes a lot of time to make one. So,
you can't afford them.
and I really don't like the idea of making it for somebody that I don't know.
Yeah, true. You don't even make it for people you do know. Just me. Just me.
Just you, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was a good day. I felt good about it afterwards. And they gave me, I didn't charge them for it. I told them I wasn't going to charge them. And actually, the coordinator, she kind of acknowledged that to the group that I wasn't charging them. I was tempted to say to them at the beginning, well, this is free. So if you don't like what I have to say, you can't ask for your money back because there isn't any for it. But no, they were fine. She gave me she had just come back the day before. She just got back from Hawaii on a vacation, and she gave me some Hawaiian fabric. I was looking at it closer today, and I have a picture of it later on today. You'll see it, and it's very nice looking fabric. It's very different from anything that I've ever had before, but you'll see that in a bit. And I guess her husband is a beekeeper, and they make their own honey. And she gave me a bottle, a fairly large bottle, I think 500 milligrams of their honey. And I tried wildflower honey, and I tried it. It's actually very, very tasty. And it's a big bottle of it. And I think they sell it as well. So I thought that was really nice. That was better than money. So, yeah. Okay, so that was a good day. So we're going to talk now about, before we get to the bake show, I want to talk a little bit about an ongoing, not battle, but debate maybe, I don't know, discussion with Sweet Pea, the place where we get a lot of our embroidery designs. And I've talked about last week about some problems that I had with their clutches because they were telling you to have them in the hoop one way, but their hoops attach from the left-hand side. My hoop and all Gnome hoops, except for the M17, attach from the right. And it took me a while to figure out that all I needed to do was just flip that pattern around, and I could handle it. But there was cursing and there was swearing. Also, I've told you before, I've been running into some editorial problems with their instructions. They are getting numbers of the order of their stitches mixed up. It's like they cut and paste.
Yeah, and you also showed me one where they referred to a panel by a name that was not in, that wasn't associated.
They said to sew on the dark side of the moon.
Or something like that, or the moon panel, or something.
But no, it said the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, right.
Like so, maybe someone was listening to Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
while they were doing.
Yeah, this. So it was like really weird, and that to me that's a glaring issue. Thing. I mean, I used to work as a software developer, and one of the things we had to often do is review the stuff that we wrote for code, what we call code. And we often had to get other people to review the code with us, right? So that they would step through it. First of all, it has to be it has to be logical for somebody else, right? For them to understand how it's supposed to work. And the other way is to make sure that you've written it properly or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I thought I did stuff right, and they'd look at it and say, "Well, you could have done it this way better," right? And then and it was something that I never dawned on me. So
Yeah.
if I thought it was incorrect, then I would fix it. So
well, it's also because you were so involved with it, and
yeah,
that's what I find. I used to tell the kids, leave yourself plenty of time to do a thorough proofreading after you've finished your essay. Don't proofread it immediately after you have written it. Give it a day, half a day. Of course, kids always write them at the last minute, so they never do that. But, because you'll see it with new eyes, because your brain will fill in the gaps. If you've left out words, or you've written something in an awkward way or whatever, your brain will correct it, and you don't, yeah, your eyes are seeing the mistake, but your brain is not. So if you leave it for 24 hours and come back to it, or even for a few hours, then you'll see those mistakes. Well, apparently that's not what they do at Sweetpea, because it was obvious that they did a lot of cut and paste, and I have nothing against the cut and paste, because many of their projects, it's the same steps to do it. You just come out with a little different end product. So yeah, why reinvent the wheel? If you've got this already written out, you just cut and paste and drop it in. But that's where the danger is, and that's why I suspect that that's what they're doing, because the stitch numbers might change, because there may not be as many color changes in the pattern you're cutting and pasting to that there were in the one before. And so the numbers get out of alignment. Not a major problem, more of a major an annoyance for me, because I've done a lot of patterns and a lot of Sweet Pea patterns as well. But for a newbie, they may go back to just putting monograms on bath towels after this.
And if they use the same testers over and over again, testers may, like, they get used to doing a certain pattern, and they may just skip over parts in the pattern that and not read the pattern all the way through.
Yeah, they just skim it, because I've done it 1,000 times. It's the same thing. Why?
Yeah, I mean, so it's always good to get newer people to look at patterns.
Yeah, new eyes. So I had another problem with Sweet Pea, which leads up to what we're about to show you and talk about. So I was going to do the Gnome Bag. I've had the Gnome Bag instructions for a while. Thought I would do it this week, and you will see the finished product. I have it finished. It'll be on later on the slideshow that we're going to put up for you. And I ran into some of these problems again. But one of the problems I ran into was a major problem right off the bat before I started to sew it. I couldn't get the files to be read by my machine. Now, I'm thinking, what's going on here? I'm doing the same thing I always do to transfer them from my computer to my embroidery machine. I've done it 1,000 times before. What's going on? I checked the files. The files were all there for the Gnome machine. I went on back into their website and looked at my order for this, and I re-downloaded the order, because you can. They give you about 50 times to download something you've bought. So I did that, transferred them over. It's still not coming up. So I'm getting kind of frustrated with this. Walter says, what's the matter? I told him. He says, give it to me. So he went upstairs. Yeah, Walter solved the problem. And I knew that this was a problem, but my brain wasn't functioning.
Well, yeah, see, I've worked in computers and had lots and lots and lots of experience. And first thing I looked at it, I thought, wonder if there's too many subdirectories.
And there was. So once we moved the directories up that I wanted a level, Gnome could read it. Now, that isn't a fault of Sweet Pea. That's a fault of Gnome's machines. The way that they create a directory structure does not do it the same way as your computer and what you're used to on your computer. I don't know what
they programming think. I find on the 500E and 550E is an older version of programming,
and they've never updated it.
And because I guess why fix something that doesn't work? Fix something. Sorry. The why
fix it if it ain't broke?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So. Anyway, so but I'm aware of that, and I know in a lot of older systems they can't handle a lot of subdirectories. So that's why I figured that.
Yeah, they really need to come into the 21st century with it on their new, maybe on the new machines. I don't know, maybe on the M17 it's
I
not
bet
a
you
problem.
it's not that
but
much
I have
different.
a feeling it is. But anyways, it wasn't Sweet Pea's problem. But I wrote them a note before Walter figured this out and said, okay, can you help me here? I don't know why my machine's not reading your files. I don't have this problem before with it. And they did get back to me, which I have found. I wrote them an email back some time ago about when I first discovered that there was these errors were being repeated through the patterns I was buying. I never got an answer. Now, in hindsight, I'm wondering, when I sent the email that you're about to hear now, I sent it through their website's, contact thing, and they have one of those boxes and everything. And I did get a reply. I didn't do that with the very first email I ever sent them. I found their email address and sent it directly from my email account. So maybe that's not active or nobody's monitoring it anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, there's sometimes businesses that will send you emails or whatever, and they'll say, "Oh, you can't reply to this email address." And the reason is that they only send stuff out. They never read whatever it comes back on an inbox.
So I don't know. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but they did answer. So here's what I got from them. And this comes from, his name is Martin, Martin Smith. He says, hi, thanks for getting back to me. I was able to solve my, I sent him that information first about the problem with the files, and then Walter figured out what the problem was. So in the meantime, because there are 18 hours difference between us and Australia, I didn't see their message come back because we were in bed, they were up, kind of a thing. So he got back to me and they want to know more information and they would test it or something and see what was going on. Well, I wrote this. Hi, thanks for getting back to me. I was able to solve my problem. The problem was that there were too many subdirectories in the file. Once I moved them all up one level, the machine was able to read the files without a problem. This I have found is a quirk of the 550E. But I thought I'd take an opportunity at this point to follow up on the first email that I'd ever sent them that I never got a reply to. So I put on another note. I've bought many of your files over the past few years and love them. However, I lately have been noticing some minor errors in the instructions. Sometimes stitch steps are not numbered correctly, or a small step has been left out. These are minor and do not usually cause me any grief because I've been doing machine embroidery for a long time, but a newbie would probably get very confused. I think it might be a question of a lack of proofreading, and I imagine that there is a lot of cut and paste happening between various projects, which makes sense because many of the instructions across the projects are the same. This is when a careful proofreading would pick up these minor errors, and that's what we were just saying a moment ago. Also, for some projects like the Steampunk Clutch, instructions do not take into consideration that some machines attach the hoop on the right side of the machine, like the 550E, closest to the throat. This was a real problem for me when doing the clutch section of the pattern, since there was no way I could have gotten the fabric on the hoop as you indicated in the instructions, because the attaching bar was in the way. I eventually, after a lot of cursing and swearing, figured out that the pattern would work if I flipped it horizontally using the built-in editing program on the machine. I think if you're providing instructions for all machines that you should include a line for the Gnome 550E machines or any other machine that attach the hoop to the right side. This would help make the instructions much clearer. These are issues that I've reported to my YouTube audience in order to help them out with any problems they may be having with your designs. I'm sure you were not aware of these problems. They are minor, as I said, because maybe many customers do not take the time to mention them to you. Thank you for your time. Now, I still didn't really expect them to answer any of this or to send me a canned message. But you can see I'm not yelling at them. I'm not calling them a bunch of assholes. Nothing like that. I am reinforcing that I like them. I continue to buy with them. But I'm doing it from the point of view of a newbie, which I'm not, but others might be. Basically, it's what I consider to be constructive criticism. So Martin Smith from Sweet Pea wrote back to me. Hi, Stephen. Glad you're sorted. The notes and projects go through many hands before the project is released. They are generally sampled twice in our sewing room here at SWHQ and then go out to 2 different testers, often USA or EU. It's hard to catch some issues, but generally we do quite well. Okay, so what he's saying here is, well, we're very thorough.
No, I can't see that they can be very thorough because they, like I said, these testers have done 1,000 of those projects and they're not actually reading and doing the steps.
And this is what we talk about here in the next part. Thank you for giving us a foreshadowing. Okay. We had to make a decision about the machines that have an arm on the right-hand side of the harp space. Gnome Elna are the only brand that has this setup, so rewriting and testing designs for just 4 machines, 6 if you include the MC400, is not viable. We've only had one other person comment about this when doing in the hoop design, so we suggested rotating the design 180 degrees and then viewing the pics in the notes with the page rotated as well. This is how our local Gnome stores teach in the hoop in a class. Okay, I have a problem here. You write them for all machines, but you're saying Gnome is on the bottom of the rung when it comes to making your instructions clear for Gnome users. And yes, their method for doing is the method that I used. I didn't think about rotate. Well, I actually did rotate the instruction page with the picture on it too to get the same perspective as that they had it at. But okay, they've only had one person make this comment, so there's only one person in Australia that has a Gnome machine, but they have Gnome stores that teach in the hoop. Seems to me that's kind of putting the onus on the instructor to solve the problem. That isn't their problem at all. Sweet Pea is not affiliated with any sewing machine brand. We test on Brother Gnome, Bernina, Fath, and HV. With the volume of work we put through using multi-needle machines, this sentence, the construction of it bothers me. With the volume of work we put through, comma, I think should be there, using multi-needle machines would be a much better setup for us, but we choose to create on the machines that most people use at home. What are they saying here? Well, I addressed this in a moment. Thank you for taking the time to drop us a message. Respectfully, Martin Smith. Martin, you're not off the hook yet. I pulled this apart. Thank you, Martin, for getting back to me. Also, thank you for the information about your product testing procedure. That was much appreciated and gives me more insight into your development process. However, I would like to comment on a couple of your points. You mentioned that your notes and the projects go through many hands before the project is released, and that they are generally sampled twice in our sewing room here at SWHQ, and then go out to 2 different testers, often USA or EU. So because of the number of editing errors I've come across in some of the projects I have purchased recently, as I mentioned in my previous email, I'm wondering if these errors are caused because your testers are too familiar with your publishing style and therefore skim through the instructions during the editing and testing process. I could see this happening, and that might be the reason for some of the minor inconsistencies within some projects. Maybe a fresh set of eyes would be helpful here. I'm not bitching. I'm being constructively critical. Number 2. I understand what you're saying when you say that you had to make a decision about the machines that have an arm on the right-hand side of the harp space. Gnome and Elnar are the only brand that has this setup, so rewriting and testing designs just for 4 machines, 6 if you include the MC400, is not viable. You know, I am directly quoting from this too. I don't want them to think that I have misinterpreted if I paraphrase what they have said. I don't think you need to rewrite and test the designs just for one brand of machine, but I think including one sentence at the beginning of the instructions that states, note, Gnome users should rotate the file 180 degrees in order to attach the fabric correctly, would be a great help to your users. You could even put this statement up on your website so that it is always there. It would not involve you having to add this sentence to future projects or to past ones either. In other words, I think I've made a viable suggestion that can be done within seconds and not involve a whole lot of re-editing or anything patterns, like as if they would even do that. Number 3, you do say that you're not affiliated with any sewing machine brand, but you seem to slight Gnome by not including the reference I've mentioned above. I am not sure how readily Gnome machines are available in Australia, But here in North America, they're very popular. So I know that your North American customers would appreciate this added information included with the instructions. Number 4, I'm not sure what you're suggesting when you say, with the volume of work we put through using multi-needle machines would be a much better setup for us, but we choose to create on the machines that most people use at home. This makes it sound like you're doing the domestic machine user a favor by creating projects for them. Maybe that contributes to the problems I've mentioned. I would hope that I'm wrong about this because I certainly do enjoy your projects. However, you are not the only company that produces machine embroidery projects for the general consumer. It should be these companies have some minor errors at times. Need to proofread. These companies have some minor errors at times as well, but in my experience, they do seem to be a little more open to suggestions for improvement. That line that they had in there really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
That was very arrogant. And what? You don't need the money?
Yeah.
You're a business.
I mean, most home users have home embroidery machines.
Yeah,
like
single needle.
Single needle, not multi-needle, because multi-needle machines are really expensive.
Yeah.
And so are they suggesting that they get a lot of business from multi-needle setup?
Well, if they do, they're not making files that I've seen on there for it because all of their files are for single needle machines. So I don't know where this comment is coming from or what it meant, but I thought that was just arrogant.
Yeah, it was.
With it. So
that was like, we're doing you a favor by creating these files for you.
And that's what I said. You're doing us a favor. And that's why I put in about the fact that there's other companies out there. And what I'm subtly suggesting is there's other places I can go to buy my files. I don't need you.
Yeah.
So there's OESD. There's, Designs by Juju. There's all kinds of them out there. So it's a fairly competitive market, at least here in North America.
And if you're a business and you're putting this stuff out, you should be, it's good customer service to be.
Yeah, to do this. So I put at the end of this, I hope you understand my reasons for spending time writing to you. I'm not being negative, although I'm sure you might take my comments in that manner. I feel I'm being constructively critical only for the reason that you are a company I respect, and I think you deserve to know when there are areas for improvement based upon the end consumer experience. You mentioned you have only had one other person comment about this when doing In the Hoop designs. Since, as I have said, these are minor problems, but nevertheless very annoying and cause some frustration in the completion of the project, others may not have taken the time to inform you of these. I hope you understand the spirit of my comments. I will be sharing my comments in your reply with my YouTube channel subscribers. Many of them are Gnome embroidery machine users, so I think it is only fair that they know what you have said in answer to my comments. I did get an answer back to this. It was fairly short. It said, thank you for your comments, and we'll pass those on to our team or something to that effect. In other words, it's been buried in the round garbage can. If they do happen to send me another detailed email addressing these issues or whatever, I'll be sure to share it with you in an upcoming So Chatty.
Yeah, but I could see, like, if you start creating a project like that clutch, and you're not very, you're
not very experienced.
Yeah, if you're not very experienced, or if it's your first time you're doing that kind of project, and you get frustrated with it, you may think twice about buying another one of their projects.
Well, that's what I was trying to imply to them, that you can lose customers. And I also was pulling out my trump card. Like I've said before, YouTube, my channel, I have a platform, I will use it. And I am calling out companies. They need to be called out. And there's far too many people who just sit back and let this kind of thing go, because that's effort. And yes, it is effort. It took me a while to write what you just heard on here, but I felt it was important to do it.
Yeah, somebody said to me something a long time ago and said, if something's bothering you about somebody or about a company or something like that, you should tell them, because if you don't tell them, they'd never know.
Yeah.
And I think that's I always think of that, because, even if you're with even with a friend or something like that, if something's bothering you, you should tell them, because they don't know that they've bothered you or some way. And at least you should inform them of that.
And if a company doesn't hear hear these things. They assume that whatever they're doing is working and it's fine. And then they could lose customers very quickly because people will just go, well, I'm never buying anything from them again.
Yeah,
And they
they're a
have
pain
no
in the
idea.
butt. They're, like,
Yeah. And it may be a simple thing for them to fix.
and like you've done that before
Yep.
with patterns before,
Mm-hmm.
where you've done a couple of patterns from a certain designer, and then you find that both of them you've had problems with creating the quilt from that particular designer, and then you turn around and say, you look at the future patterns and say, oh, that person designed it, I'm not going to do that one.
Exactly. And I have written to those designers as well to let them know I found this thing, or I look to see if they have added an addendum, because they often do if they have a website and they'll say, oh, there's a correction. But when you don't find anything like that or whatever, then either they don't know there's a problem or they're ignoring it. Now it comes down to how they address the issue. If they ignore you, then I assume, okay, they don't care. So I'm not buying any more of their patterns. But if they take the time to reach out to you and go, thank you for pointing that out to me, I have made the correction. And I had one that sent me a brand new pattern. When they made the correction, they sent it to me immediately with it. That is good customer service.
Or even if they point out that there's been a correction made online.
Yeah.
That you may have missed.
Yeah.
They've responded to you.
That's right. So, Sweet Pea, pick it up, because I do like your designs, but it's only been lately that I've been noticing, and I've done a lot of their designs over time. It's only been in the last few patterns that I have purchased, and I don't know if these are newer or older ones. I think they're newer with that. So something's not right in what they used to do. Now, I did hear a rumor that the company is a family-run company and that the parents or whatever have kind of gone into retirement or whatever, and that a son or somebody has taken it over. And maybe that's the problem, with it. The quality control is slipping. Well, we'll see in other patterns how that all works out. So anyways, I shared that with you, So I'm not going to suggest you should never buy a pattern from Sweet Pea. I've made many of them. They're great. They're fine. For the most part, it's just lately. And let's hope that they do take what I've said seriously, or they might think I'm just a crank. So what the hell?
Some people are like that. They get uptight about having a criticism.
About constructive criticism. Well, nobody likes to be criticized. Okay, that's why I couched my comments in gentle language. I was suggesting that this is maybe why there's a problem. You might want to look into it. Like, it's one thing to complain. I used to teach this to kids when you wrote letters of complaint. You don't start in your letter of complaint both barrels blasting at them. You say something nice about whoever you're complaining to, the company you're complaining to. Butter them up a little bit. You don't have to get too sticky sweet about it, but just say something nice at first. Then you get into what the real issue is. But at the same time, you don't use negative words, and you don't make it sound like there isn't a solution to the problem. You should make a suggestion of what you would like to see happen, because that means that they'll take what you have said more seriously then. That way, because they say, oh, wait, this person has thought about this. They're just not complaining with it. So we'll see what will happen.
In the work that I used to do, I used test software. Other people would test software. And if you worked on it or something like that, and they were never too kind when they came back and said, you got a problem with it.
Well,
but it's the nature of the job, and then you just get used to that sort of thing.
And, I get criticism here about my quilts, not just from Walter. What happened there? Well, I had somebody earlier this week, I had some of the Barn Star sampler ones up on my design wall, and they noticed that one of the blocks, I had turned something the wrong way, and I did not see that, and he never looked at it. So I don't get upset about that. I'm glad that they found it now, because it was a fairly easy fix, and I did fix it. But here's what I said about proofreading. You're too close to the project. Your brain will see the correct version. But your eyes have spotted the wrong one, and the two are not communicating. And I'm glad that the person who identified my mistake told me now before I got through that whole bloody quilt from hell and had it all quilted and bound and everything. And then Walter looked at it and he went, "Oh, what happened here?" And I'd go. So yeah, so I appreciate that when people do it. I know they're not being critical; they're trying to help, and I get the spirit of that, and that is fine. Okay, enough about Sweet Pea. Let's go on with the bag show, shall we? I have put together a series of slides. I went through my bags that I still have, and Walter went through his. And I kind of divided this up into categories, as you'll see. And we're not going to spend a great deal of time dwelling on this, but this just gives you, well, for me anyways, it shows you where I started and where I'm at now with all of this. So let me just get it up here. There we go. Actually, maybe I'll take us off. So here's a bunch that I found all bunched up in a bag somewhere. That's why they're a little wrinkly. These were my very early efforts. I think one of my very first bags was this one over here. It actually says Bland Bag on it. The reason I remember that as one of my very first ones is because these were the scrap pieces of fabric left over from the very first quilt I ever made. And I had a Cricut machine, a new Cricut machine that would cut vinyl. So I cut the shiny vinyl and stuck Bland Bag on it. Oh, it's pretty bad. It's, you know, the straps are really weak on it, very limp. The binding around it, I don't think this is lined. This is not lined. It has no shape, no form to it whatsoever. So after I made that, I probably made one of this one. Well, I thought I'd get fancy and had like the two-tone thing. And yeah, and I don't think this one's lined either. I think I was afraid of lining at the time. Now, this bag, another Bland Bag, I think I made it around the same time as I made this. Again, sort of from scraps with the bottom, and yeah, pretty lame. This one's not bad, the brown one. The straps, you can see I got a little better at the straps. I made them a little bit more substantial in it. I still don't think these are lined.
No.
I don't think any of these are lined. And there's no
stabilizer on it.
Stabilizer in them or anything. This one I was getting fancy. You can't tell in the picture, but this is actually a pocket, an outer pocket that's down here and goes in here. I think I was very proud of myself when I figured out how to do that. Oh, and you'll notice I did not box the corners. The only bags that have boxed corners, I think this one might. This one probably did. But these ones, they don't. They don't have boxed corners. I just zipped it across. Here's one that I put a zipper in.
And that's, I think, made from an old pillowcase.
No, that's made from an old, oh, it might have been pillow.
Yeah.
We had a comforter or something that looked like that.
Yeah. But yeah, and we had matching pillow slips.
That's right. So we got rid of those by Save the Fabric on them, and I made it out of that. And I think I tried to do a little bit of quilting on this one too. And I think I added some decorative stitching. Yeah, it's still god awful. Okay, I also experimented early on with pouches and novelty pouches and things like that. Now, some of these may have been designs on either designs by Juju or designs by or Sweet Pea designs. And they're the zippered pouches, right? They're a dime a dozen. And I have to say, I don't really like a zipper pouch. Not these. I think they're great if you're a woman and you want something like a cosmetic bag. They're not great for guys for a toiletry bag because, you know, usually you want to throw your razor in there or something like that. And they're usually not very big. This one was just a cute one at Christmas time for making, you know, the Santa one. I think I made several of these. As well, like they're, you know, put candy canes in. I think I made some for our great nieces or something at the time, and possibly for my nephew and niece too. My mother, when she was in the nursing home, I was trying to come up with different designs of bags that had her name on it, so her little things she could put in them. And so these were kind of my own design. This one has a zipper on the back that runs from right across. It was a little wider. But the thing is, I was trying to find things that, her hands weren't in that great a shape and everything that she could hang on to and easily get into. Yeah, that didn't work with it. Now these were a novelty. I don't know where I saw it on YouTube, I think. It was a type of vinyl that you could buy that's sticky on one side. And what people were doing were taking the bags from candies and using this on the bags, cutting them out and making them into these little zippered pouches, which I thought were kind of a cute idea, but they were a bit of a bitch to work with, getting the zippers into them and that kind of thing. And I never went any further than that. I do remember we went out, we bought these bags of candies because I wanted the bags with it. I think I had in my head an idea that these might make fun gifts. I don't think I gave any of them away. Now these are more recent. These were, I think, a Sweet Pea design, and zipper pouch bags. They're really quick, really easy to make, and you put in the vinyl. Now the first one I made was this one, and I used my mesh, but I kind of like the vinyl a little better, and they came out pretty good. Walter liked it. I gave him one. With I think one of these are ones I gave. I think I gave you the yellow one, didn't I?
I have the vinyl. You gave me one vinyl one. You gave me the one with mesh, but I can't find my vinyl. It's buried somewhere.
Well, I have the pattern. You can make your own.
Yeah.
So I was using this one to hold my little microphones and stuff like that. So these I kind of didn't mind making. They worked out pretty good. But I'm not really a pouch maker. So wine totes. Now you know that I was on a hunt for an in the hoop wine tote. Well, before I found one, I found these patterns. Now these are not done in the hoop. These are done on your sewing machine. Well, I did the embroidery on this one. Yeah, this one I had a little problem with up here at the top. In fact, I think what I did was this satin stitch. I did the satin stitch on my domestic, which would mean just a tight zigzag. And yeah. And I had never...
It kind of looks like you didn't line the bag.
Oh, I didn't.
Or no, I meant didn't interface the material.
No, I don't think I did.
And that's probably why
it all went
at the top.
Yeah. And I was interested in putting in these gormets. And yeah, I don't like working with gormets. I don't know. Gormets are okay for shower curtains. That's about it. This one, again, this was old fabric left over from our balloon curtains that we had, Hello the 80s called. We saved the fabric. I actually have made several different things from this fabric that was left over. So it's, it's drapery material, but I made a basic rectangle and put in a zipper. Well, that didn't work all that well. This one I did on the serger, and that was just for shits and giggles. And you can see up here at the top, that red that's sticking out. I was too lazy to change my threads. I don't know. I had something in there that I think I had red and black in and just let it do its thing. Well, I thought, and in the seams, I serged this all up. I did this whole little sucker in about 20 minutes. And I did it all in the serger just to see if I could. And yeah, you can, but it's ugly. This one is the actual one. You've seen this recently because I did this recently. I hate it. It's a wine tote. It was by Designs by Sweet Pea. That is a pattern I will not recommend. They tried to do it using a jelly roll strips, and then you had different decorative stitch embroidery done, and it's all done in the hoop, except you have to line it outside of the hoop. Things didn't go together well. I didn't like the design of the handle. I thought it serves its purpose.
I've seen other totes where the handle goes across that way, and for some reason I have never liked that design.
No.
It always looks kind of clunky to me.
Yeah, it does, and this one definitely is clunky. But, this is how you learn. Okay, so now things that are a little bit better. A lot better, actually. These, of course, are bags by Annie, her patterns.
You've done a lot of bags.
I've done quite a few of her bags, and I have a few more I want to do. I like her patterns. I especially like her videos. I know a lot of people are intimidated by the instructions because they are lengthy. They are very detailed, but you can get, for most of her projects, you can, for $5 extra, you can get a yes, a video, like the link to a YouTube video, and she's very thorough in the videos. And the best way to tackle a Bianni bag, if you're not familiar with them, is to have your instructions open. You know, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Don't rush the process, follow through, and watch the corresponding video from it as well, and you'll have success. This bag turned out really great. This is a travel bag. It's this big zipper here, and it opens up. It's a fairly large sized bag. It has these pockets. I had never ever done these kind of pockets, and I had never ever installed these kind of latches. And there's lots of hardware in this bag, and there's inner pockets too. I've never used the bag, but it is a great bag. This picture, it got a little squished up, but it came out really, really nice. And then I made a messenger bag out of denim, and it worked out pretty good too. And it has lots of pockets. And one thing about Bianni, and I think this might be what discourages people, she has a lot of pockets with a lot of hardware, and she uses a lot of zippers, but she shows you how to put them in, and it's really not hard. Of course, this bag I absolutely love. Everybody has seen this bag. Adam Sews makes these bags all the time and sells them on his website. He's added a few variations to it. It's the In Control bag, I think, and it opens up. It's rectangular, and it's meant for holding all of your crafting supplies, your knitting supplies, your sewing tools, whatever, and it's great to take it off to a retreat with everything in this little bag. There's pockets on the side of it. It is all bound all the way around, and it's bias binding, and I thought, going around curves would be difficult. It is not. She shows you how to do that. And Walter liked it so much, I made him one.
Yeah, actually, and I use it all the time.
I'm actually not using mine right now, but I love this bag. It's great. I should make another one. But you know how I'm into 3D printing, and I like to combine 3D printing with quilting. I made this little tray. It fits inside one half of this bag. And the one problem with this bag, but I think Adam has done something about that. He's started to create inserts for these bags, which are great for holding things up because it's an open bag. So when you're throwing in your rotary cutter, your scissors, whatever, everything goes to the bottom. It's all in a pile.
Yeah, one thing I don't like about that bag is that the inside pockets don't necessarily have a bottom to them.
No,
they're open.
They're open.
Things
they're
slide
just,
out and slide into the main part of the bag.
Yeah. So I made this on the 3D printer, just a simple box with dividers in it, and now your scissors, your rotary cutter, your pens, your marking pencils, everything like that stand up in it, and it only fills up about one half of the bag across. You still have the open area for more things in there as well. Yes, you may say I'm a genius. I said you may say I'm a genius. I said you may say I'm a genius. Well, screw you. Okay, more bags. This ugly thing is not my design. This was what came in the Jenny Doan Advent box a year ago, this past Christmas. It's an old lady bag. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but it's an old lady bag. They gave you these ugly charm pack to use with it, and these handles, and yeah, it worked out okay, but I don't use it because, good God, I'd need a shawl to go with it. This is one bag I made not too long ago. It's my own design. I had leftover strips, so I made it out of the strips. Actually, I made the fabric. I made a big bunch of these strips, just sewed them all together. And then I threw them on Lucy, and I layered it, and I let Lucy quilt it and then I cut it up into pieces. I still have some of this fabric, I think, left. But I thought my idea after I had done that, I thought I might embroider on top of it. Well, it was a quilt sandwich. And you have more chance of it popping out of your hoop because it's so thick. So what I decided to do is instead made this panel, and I appliqued it. I did the panel in the embroidery machine, the gnome with the star and everything on that. And then I just embroidered it or applicate it onto with invisible thread onto the bag front. So another way to do it. And I used nylon webbing for my straps as opposed to making the straps from your fabric and folding over. I bought a bunch of different rolls of this stuff, ridiculously inexpensive from that place that was at Cleaner Supply. I think it was Cleaner Supply that I bought it.
Either that or it was that place from out west.
Wallway?
No, the out west place. I forget. Pacana?
Oh, Pacana. It might have been Pacana.
Yeah.
But either one. But it was ridiculously inexpensive for this. And it comes in a wide variety of colors. So I think I bought about 4 or 5 different rolls, different colors of it. This stuff is great. They're strong. You don't have to worry about folding the fabric and stitching it down and top stitching and the whole bit. I mean, it's instant handles in a sense. Now, however, if you want something that matches the bag exactly, like with the fabric and everything, then you'll probably want to use the other method. But I do it kind of interchangeably. And in fact, now, as you saw in the video last week, now I'm doing an Adam Sews method where I use the nylon webbing inside the fabric. And I just made some handles like that this morning, which you'll see in a moment. And I really like doing it that way too, because the handle is really strong. It doesn't take that much more time than the conventional way, but you now have handles that coordinate well with your bag fabric. This one you saw, this was was this a designs by Juju or was it Sweet Pea? I'm not sure. It's the sewer's bag. Anyways,
it's one of the two.
It's one of the two. And I made this one recently. The bags look a little out of shape because they've been sitting in a pile. And trying to take pictures of the bags, I was trying to figure out a way to do it without trying to hold it up and take the picture myself with it. So this bag came out fine. It's not a problem. And it's a fairly big bag as well. Then, of course, you saw these ones that I made before Christmas that went to my hairdresser. I made the set. This was I think this was a designs by Juju. That's the one thing. You can usually tell the difference between designs by Juju and designs by Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea designs. Sweet Pea designs are, for lack of a better word, tend to be a little juvenile in their designs. They're kind of gitchy, kind of a thing. Designs by Juju tend to be a little bit more elegant. Sophisticated. So I made that, and then I just left out one of the panels that's here to make this double bottle wine tote. And then I found this isn't the same pattern, but I used pretty much the same colors to make the little zippered pouch. And I gave this all to my hairdresser. And in fact, she loved it so much, she showed it to her mother. Her mother wanted one, so I made her mother one of these bags as well. Oh, there's another picture of the one that I was talking about, the sewing bag. I didn't realize I duplicated it. Then, of course, you see these. And this was the first bag that I made. The one that Walter's working on right now that we're shivering with anticipation waiting to see. This is the one that we decided to use faux leather on. I love this bag. I love the shape of it. I love using the faux leather.
I like that bag. I don't know if I'm going to like mine that much because my colors are a little bit more vivid. So.
Oh, well, I'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know the story of the clutches, which started the whole thing with me writing to Sweet Pea about it. Would I make another one of these? Well, actually, if I needed to. I don't have a use for a clutch. Both of these are going to be gifts. But you can see the progression that I've made over time. Now, these are Walter's bags. Walter's didn't do any of these bags in the hoop. So you want to talk about your bags?
Well, these were original bags. I took a bag class, and it's basically a type of purse. So the first 3 are the same design, and they have a zipper in them, and I think they have inside pockets. And the one that says the dog on it, I made for my niece because she has a dog she's in love with. So, and I thought it was kind of cool,
little Freddy,
to make that for her. And I gave most of these away, except for the one with the bricks on it. I still have. But and then what I did was I took a variation of that design from those first zipper bags, that's how I've been using that similar design for these bags. Now, my other bags don't have inside pockets. I've never made them. They do have sort of an outside pocket on these bags. And
and when you say it's an outside pocket, it's down here behind this little,
yeah, that whole
slides down in
the
there.
front middle part is an outside pocket. And they're kind of totes. They've got a fair bit of stabilizer in them.
Yeah, because these bags will sit up on their own, as you can see.
Yeah, and so the one that says "So Fabulous" I made for a friend of mine that turned 60, and the other ones are Christmas bags. So, and I just changed I've made a lot of these, and I just changed the colors or whatever for whatever design I'm doing.
But what I like about your bags, if you notice, Walter's looks like trim up here. How'd you do that?
I use the decorative stitches on the sewing machine, and a lot of times, like lately, I've been using, I'll use embroidery thread for the top thread, and then on the inside, I'll use a matching regular thread for the bobbin, and so a similar thread. So the embroidery thread gives the appearance of it being more a goldy or sparkly than without going as far as using metallic thread.
But you'd have to show me how you do this, because this strip that's here.
Okay, if you look at the strip that's there, the front of the bag is one sheet of fabric, right? And it's interfaced. And then I've got the inside where that strip is. What I do is I sew another piece of fabric that's lined with SF101, just 1 sheet of SF101. I stitch it 3/8 of an inch. I do it front facing, right sides together, right? And it's slightly longer than the front piece, and I stitch it at 3/8 of an inch, and I fold that over. So if you look on the inside of the bag, if you look at the one that has the teal at the top in the strip, or even the one with this purple, if you pull that outside pocket open and you look down, the whole inside of that pocket is the color of that edging.
Oh, so it's not just a little strip. It's the whole...
It's the lining.
It's lining.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Because if I didn't do that, well, first of all, I'd have a raw edge at the top, right? And the other thing is it makes the inside part of that pocket.
So do you embroider or do the decorative stitching on that before you attach it to the bag?
Yes, then? I do. I do it all the way across. You might have, the pattern may not quite match when you do the sides, but that's not that noticeable.
No. See, learning all the time here.
And what else you can do sometimes with your machine, depending on how sophisticated your machine is, I've done that on a particular bag, is let's say you're making it for one person, or you want to make for something, a specific theme or something, you can actually write their name or something in the decorative stitching all the way across.
So there's a good use of your decorative stitches on your domestic machine that you probably never use. And here's some more of Walter's bags. Actually, that's the same as the other one, except different colorway.
That's the one I made Stephanie is
okay.
That one. And this one, actually, it must be finished because I put it it has the handles on it. It's a quick wine bag that I made. And if I don't have, you can't see the inside, but the inside is actually looks like all corks.
And these aren't separate bags. On this blue bag, this is the one side of it, and this is on the other side of it.
Yeah, it is.
And the same with these. I love this. Screw it. Yeah. So, like, you don't have to do your bag in the hoop, but if you have an embroidery machine and you don't want to do it in the hoop, you can do what Walter does. You can embroider whatever design you want on the bag panel and then put the bag together.
Yeah.
You'll have to figure out your spacing, but...
Yeah, like at the previous bags that I made, the bags right at the beginning of the show, these are variations of the design of the bag. All I did was I took the original bag pattern and made it bigger.
And your handles on this bag actually go down? Do they go all the way down?
No, they don't. I have it so that that panel that's in there, it goes about 3/4 of the way down the bag on the inside, and it's attached to the upper layer. Like if you look at the light blue at the top,
Yeah.
that's an entire layer that goes all the way down to the bottom. That
Yeah.
sheet of fabric, right? And the handles go about 3/4 of the way down. And they're very well sewn to the inside of that bag so that you can load an elephant in that bag.
Well, I like, if we just go back here for a second and look at these ones, this design, I use the webbing in it, but these handles are sewn all the way down, and the end of the raw edge of this gets buried in the seam allowance for the bottom of the bag. And I think these kind of straps are much stronger than just having the straps, up here at the top. Because if you think about it, the only thing holding these straps together up here is only a couple of lines of stitching in the seam. And whereas these, you're sewing them right down the sides.
Well, see, what I like about the way I was doing it is that they're sewn 3/4 of the way down, but they're attached, so they're quite strong, right? But they're hidden.
Yeah.
Like they're not really, they're the only part of the straps you see are just the part at the top there.
Yeah. Okay, so that was some of our bags, and now I just thought I'd show you some things. I've been collecting over the last few years some bag patterns, and I have some that I want to make, and I'm showing them here. I don't know when I'm going to get to them. I especially want to get to these ones because these are all bags by Annie, and she has all kinds out there. This one, Running with Scissors, is a great little bag because it stands up if you're going to a retreat, and you use vinyl in it. Oops, move back. You use vinyl in it, and it's it's divided, and it zips up in the whole bit. This one, I have the frame for it. This one takes a frame. I call it the Mary Poppins bag. Well, it's called a Poppins bag. It is a huge bag, and yeah, I've had the stuff to make this for several years, and I just haven't gotten to it. And this one too, A Place for Everything, a very involved bag. But again, as I said, these designs by Annie are very well written. So that's something that I want to make. These ones were ones I've collected. This one I bought because I have the little special template that makes these little blocks, and I've never gotten to it. The storage solution ones, I have made baskets and things like that before. I have never made this particular design. I don't really have a need for these though. That's why I haven't really done it. And double zipper pouch, yeah, I've made pouches, but I think I bought that pattern way back before I'd really have done any of those. And mini charm carry-all. This is in the picture it doesn't show very well, but it's made with a charm pack. So that's probably why I had it, because I had a lot of charm packs at one point in time. The Sew Together bag. This one I have seen at a retreat, and it's all divided inside. And it looks, this picture doesn't really do it justice. It looks really cool. And if you see here, this top part, you can see it has these zippered little pouch things that are built right into it, and they serve as dividers and extra storage. You can actually get quite a bit in those bags, and I've seen them used at retreats. And then I think I got this because this looked like a quick little project, as might make a nice gift or something. It's a lady's wallet, tuck in your purse, or if I was making, like I made that set of bags for my hairdresser, it might be something to do. I have these. Whether I'll make any of these, with the exception of the by Annie, I may never get to any of these other ones. I may never get to the bags by Annie. And these are more Sweet Pea designs. Now, yes, I know I just bitched about Sweet Pea, and I still buy their designs because I like their designs for the most part. This bag I want to make, the peacock bag.
That looks similar to the one we just did.
The quilted patchwork one. And it is the same design, the same shape. It's just that I like these peacock feather look on it. Mm-hmm. This is, and you'll see it in a minute, I've actually done this. This is a little add-on as a flap to go over the opening of a tote bag. But it has a little zipper in it, and it becomes an additional storage area, which would be great on a bag.
Yeah, that looks almost similar to that. You didn't show that bag, your
No, I'm
gnome
going to
bag.
show it in a minute.
That looks like your gnome bag.
Like, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it is.
yeah.
But this was a separate.
Oh, okay.
Like they're selling this as if it was $2.50.
Yeah, okay.
And I actually haven't made this one, but I know how you make them now because I just made one on the bag you're about to see in a second. But like I said, this has a zipper in it. It's all done in the hoop, and it serves as a latch, as you'll see. You see a little bit of the picture here over top. And this is a bag insert. So what it is if you notice, this is a tote bag on the outside, and this little bag you make, and it drops into the bag. So it's a bag within a bag. So you can, if you're dropping stuff into a big tote bag, it's a big tote bag. So everything's getting mixed up. So this is kind of like that insert that I made on the 3D printer.
It's almost like a removable pocket.
Yeah, and that's the idea. So, and that's I haven't made that yet to try, but I do want to do that because I think that also adds another dimension, especially if you're making a bag and you want to give it as a gift. I think it's kind of cool.
I've never thought that I could make just an insert into one of my bags too.
Yes, you could. These are designs by Creative Kiwi. They had a big sale not too long ago, and I bought about 10 or 15 designs for a ridiculously low price. I think everything was $2. So I have never made one of these kind of bags. The sack kind of bag or whatever.
See, I don't like those handles. I've looked at those before. Yeah. I'm not sure if I like those handles.
Well, I don't like the bags because I don't see but this is definitely more feminine.
Yeah.
With it. But it was because of the handles. I'm not a fan of them, but I want to see how that goes together. How you make it. This one is a patchwork bag too, but I like the shape of it. It's a little different.
I like that one.
The scoop shape. And these are all done in the hoop too. Now, Creative Kiwi, what they do is they'll only usually part of the bag is the outside part of the bag is done in the hoop. You will do the lining and you'll do the handles in the conventional way. But this one also has an interesting way of attaching the handles here, I noticed. And those might be done in the hoop as well. And then I just thought these were fun. They're little Halloween treat bags. I mean, maybe next year or this year at Halloween time or something, I'll make a couple of these. Maybe take them over to the neighbors for their grandkids or something. They look like they might be just fun. They're not very big. They're pouch size. Now, this is a bag I definitely want to make, and this is a bag by Adam Sews. So if you watch Adam Sews, he's been designing his own patterns for things, and this is his design, the Thora duffel bag. He's actually shown it on his channel, and it looks like it holds quite a bit in it. It's a fairly good size bag. It's all zippers up. It's got pockets, the whole bit. Of course, Adam always does his bags out of Tula Pink because he loves Tula Pink. And his instructions are fairly easy to follow, and he usually has a video to go along with them. So if you're interested, go to his store online, Adam Sews. I think it's adamsews.com. And you can see, his other patterns for things. Okay, this is the one I finished just before we went to air. This is another Sweet Pea design. This is the Gnome Bag. It's the one I had the problem getting the files on the machine until we solved that problem. And I just thought it might be fun. You can see that I used the faux leather on the bottom. I did the handles in the coordinating fabric that I was using here on the flap. There's the flap that I just showed you a minute ago. That's what it looks like on the bag. And there is a snap, actually a magnetic snap that's underneath this, and that holds it. It comes over the top of your bag and it just goes right into the snap in that. And those are really easy to install. And it's all lined as well. And I think it turned out pretty good. And here's a close-up of that piece I was telling you about that I used. That was really easy to make. The zipper gets sewn in. It's right on your hoop when you put it in, and all worked out very, very nicely. So I'm very happy with this. Oops, come back. And I think that's the end of the slideshow. It is. So that was the bag show. You saw Walter's bags. You've seen my bags, so you can tell everybody you've seen our bags.
Mine aren't that exciting, but like
I know I've seen it before. No.
I, I don't, I don't really sew as much as you do.
This is true. Because he's busy doing other things like cooking my dinners and my lunches, looking after the greenery, shoveling snow, watching porn. But whatever. Um, no, let's say no more about that. So, yeah. Um, I've really got to get back to quilting though, but I've really been enjoying making bags again. And so, yeah, but I got to get back into that Barn Star sampler. Got to get that done. Yes. Whatever. Okay. So, before we leave, just a couple of things. We have some comments for the week. Actually, one saying this came from Maple4078. Thanks for the video. You can advance your stitches by touching the arrow button to the right. To back up stitches, you can touch the arrow button to lift to the left. Just stop the machine and advance the stitches forward a few stitches. The arrows are located where it shows your stitch count. What this is in reference to is when I said about for the clutch, trying to get over those humps. And the Sweet Pea suggests you slow down your machine. Well, I'm already running it at the slowest speed I can. And as soon as you start it up, I mean, the machine goes. And that was causing me some grief getting over there. And they also suggest that you move your foot up a little bit. I can't do that on my machine. Other machines, some of them have that. They have an electronic way that you can lift up your foot a little bit for getting over bumps like that. So the suggestion here was to just, go one stitch at a time. Well, here's the problem with that. I know how to do that, okay? How to back up the machine a few stitches or bring it forward a few. But you got to stitch it.
But it doesn't sew when you do that. It just moves the stitches ahead or moves the stitches back.
Yeah.
But you're not sewing when it's doing that.
No, so that's the problem. Now, the other thing I was going to try, and I sort of tried it the other day, but I'm not sure if it works, is simply stopping the machine before you get to the hump and doing like you would on a regular sewing machine. Use your flywheel and just turn it down one at a time. But you don't have feed dogs.
No, that's true.
And so you have to put your hand and try to tug and at the same time. And
yeah, well, I don't think that'll work because then you're fighting the arm, the embroidery.
And you'll end up bending your needle and possibly even breaking it off in the whole bit.
So you might be able at the end, if you can leave that particular thing.
You could do it on your sewing machine.
And you could do it on your sewing machine later.
But you can't.
No.
I thought of that because in this particular design, maybe on other designs you could, but on this particular design you have fabric that's going over the top of all the whole thing because it builds the lining into it. And then you can't get at it. And you can't take it out of the hoop because you'll never get it back in the hoop the right way. And then you'd have to try and manipulate your whole hoop underneath your needle on a domestic machine and it'll probably pop.
So have to check the manual again. Actually, it might be a question of Shirley next time you go talk.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. However, I did manage to get it to work. And the way I did it was basically I took one stitch at a time, but I'd stop the machine real quick. And then I'd do it again. And I hold it down with a stiletto, like really pressing on it at the same time. So it was like my right leg was over my neck, my left arm was over here, and one down here trying to do it. But I managed to make it do it. How to avoid it in the future? Don't use a thick little strap. That it was a little piece of strap. If you saw when I showed this last week, it was the little piece of strap that holds the D-ring that your major handle one goes through. And I had done it the way they said. And it's got several layers of fabric plus several layers of fabric in the clutch at that point too. That's the problem. There's probably 8 layers of fabric. It's
probably like going over that bump of your jeans when you're trying to hem it out.
Yeah, actually, it's exactly like that. Yeah. But you don't have a hump jumper, as you can't use a hump jumper on these things. So, yeah, buyer beware on that. Okay, so, but thank you for the suggestion, because I did play with that, based on your suggestion. Okay, so that means that now, we don't have anything for So Chatty is in terms of a series now. So we're looking for ideas. So if you've got some thoughts about what we could develop into a short series of maybe 3-4 videos, kind of thing, please put it in the comments below or send it to me as an email. And I have a question for you that I would like to address next week on So Chatty, and it's this. What annoys you most about embroidery, sewing, quilting companies that you purchase from? And second question, if you could design your own embroidery machine or sewing machine, what would you do to make them better? What would you make sure the sewing machine or the embroidery machine had on it? So 2 questions. What really pisses you off about online or in-person quilt stores, sewing shops, embroidery, or wherever you get your embroidery patterns from? And what would you do to, basically, what would be your dream machine, either embroidery or sewing machine? What features would you have to have on it? What would you improve on what maybe you already have now? So I know one thing I would do. I would have it so that there was a bobbin sensor on my embroidery machine that didn't stop when there's still a quarter of a thing of bobbin thread left. And you can adjust it. Yes, you can adjust it.
I've got mine down to the very smallest amount.
So do I do, and you still have a quarter of a bobbin.
I don't have a quarter on it.
Well, I'll have to check mine. Never mind. Of course.
Or maybe you think it's a quarter. I don't think it's a quarter.
Well, I will have to double check mine and see what it's set at. I don't know. Anyways, what do you think? What are your suggestions? Okay, that's it for us now. This was a long one, but aren't they all? And God, Walter's just getting ready to push that chair away and run. Gee,
yeah.
I guess we better say goodbye. Say goodbye, Walter.
Bye.